Good afternoon. It's Sunday, May 24th, 2020. And if this drive looks familiar, it should. The last drive in Chad I did, I took this exact same route. And I'm going today to pretty much the exact same place. My last trip up to Lehigh Gap, I did that nice walk from the parking area through Lehigh Gap. Got to see a little bit of the north side of the mountain, but my legs can only carry me so far. And it's a shame because it really gets beautiful and interesting north of the mountain. Not that it's not beautiful south of the mountain, but it's a very unique area up there. It's more open. The rocky face of the mountain is more exposed. It runs along the river and some little creeks. There's some hiking trails off to the side. Beautiful area. I absolutely love it. So today I am heading up there with the bicycle. I've got the GoPro charged up. I'm going to do some video of biking through Lehigh Gap. And I figured I would use the drive. Excuse me, clearing my voice here. I'm still dealing with Lehigh Valley allergies and the fact that I actually don't get to use my voice that much these days. When I'm staying home. The most that I say on an average day is get off the keyboard, get off my desk. The cats don't like the long hours I work. They're trying to save me from myself, but 100 times a day it's get off the keyboard. Anyway, it's a absolutely perfectly beautiful spring day. My truck temperature gauge says 66. My weather app said 64, doesn't matter, it's perfect. The sun's coming out. It was a little overcast this morning. We just got through about a day and a half of rain. Today, this is Memorial Day weekend, it's Sunday. Today looks absolutely perfect. Tomorrow looks equally perfect. And I'm really going to enjoy it. Because as you guys know, I work long hours. If you watched my driving and chatting videos, particularly the one on the way home from May 2nd, which was the last drive and chat video I did, I had a couple things going on. I had a side project I was about to take on, and I did that project. It was absolutely all-consuming for about 3 weeks. I finished it up last Thursday, 2 days ago. It's basically work 8 hours at your day job and then shut down that program and open the other one and work another 7 or 8 plus weekends. So I've been really busy, but it was a good opportunity, and it'll take a while for them to pay me, but it'll be worth it. It was one of those opportunities you don't say no to. So, needless to say, though, May was an absolute blur. The other thing to add on to that, if you remember my talk on the drive home, I was very concerned about them forcing us to go back to the office prematurely and then having to choose between my health and my job. It came down to the wire, but thankfully company management did the right thing and told us we can continue to work from home for at least another 5 weeks, which takes us, I believe, to the middle of June sometime, early to middle of June. So I've been continuing to work from home for my day job. I still don't like that job. I still want to leave that job. Obviously, that's a little difficult right now, though, so I'm just hanging in there with it. So, where does Pennsylvania stand with all this lockdown stuff? Well, I gotta tell you, not much has changed. In fact, where I live, absolutely nothing has changed since the middle of March. We're still in the, quote, red zone, which is as full of a lockdown as it gets, other than I'm allowed to go out and grocery shop and exercise. Thankfully, I'm allowed to go out and exercise. That's been my sanity lately. And it's good for your body. It's good for your immune system. They've actually been coming out with reports that vitamin D, which your body produces naturally from being out in the sun, actually, I don't think it helps prevent coronavirus, but I think it helps your immune system, so you get a mild case, not a severe one. I'm not a medical person. I mean, there's a couple areas of my life that I almost can't talk anything sensible about, and the medical issues are one of them. So I just know that I've seen reports saying vitamin D is good for you. I'd like to have the sun help me make some of that, and obviously exercise is just plain good for you anyway. So we're going biking today. Interestingly, though, even though things are not much different in Northampton and Lehigh County, in the whole Lehigh Valley, in fact, we're still in the red zone, the rest of the state is faring better. They've started to open much of it up again, particularly starting in the northwest part of the state. But interestingly, Friday, God, I keep thinking today's Saturday, so I wanted to say yesterday. So 2 days ago, Friday. So 3 days ago, Thursday, I finished my side project. 2 days ago, Friday, Carbon County, which is not that far from here. In fact, it's just over the mountain to my right. That's where Jim Thorpe is, one of my favorite little towns. You've seen lots of videos on that. They got moved to the yellow zone. And while there's not really a huge difference between yellow and red, it lets, the big difference is it lets non-life sustaining businesses open again. I don't know if curbside pickup is mandated or just suggested. I think you can actually go in the stores, but there's limits on occupancy, and then of course a million different, safety protocols. But more or less, Carbon County and Jim Thorpe is open for business again. And then the green phase will be the least restrictive. Parts of northwest Pennsylvania are starting to move towards that. Nothing near here is starting to move towards that. The counties that are still in red, which is mostly eastern Pennsylvania, including where we are now, and Philadelphia, which is the southeast, and then even a little bit inland, like south central out towards Lancaster, Amish country, that's still red. As it stands now, the counties that are in red will move to yellow June 5th, which is 2 weeks from Friday, I think. We're passing Becky's Drive-In here, a 2-screen drive-in movie theater that does double features. I've mentioned them in a couple prior videos. They reopened a couple days ago. They were of the understanding that even though it was red, because obviously with a drive-in theater, it's a very easy way to social distance if you keep the cars. They were going to keep the cars 9 feet apart, and people had to stay in the cars. In my mind, that's, again, not a medical person, but in my mind, that's perfectly safe. I mean, as paranoid as I am about catching this thing, I'd feel perfectly safe going to Becky's and watching a movie. Well, the local news reported that Becky's reopened just for one night. I mean, they had intended to stay reopened, and sure enough, the state police showed up, issued them a verbal warning telling them they were not allowed to do that. The owners of Becky's feel they are allowed to do it. However, I think they just didn't want to make waves, so they shut back down after that first night and said, we'll reopen when the counties go yellow. There's 3 drive-in theaters in this general area. 2 are in this area where I am now. One is a little bit over the mountain towards Jim Thorpe. I expect they're going to be hugely, hugely popular this summer. Which is kind of cool, really. I mean, it's, it's an old school kind of thing, but it's neat to think about them making a resurgence instead of continuing to die off. I mean, I hope the regular theaters will survive this. I only go to 2, 3, 4 movies a year. I don't go to that many, but I do like the experience. When I do go to the movies, it's always, I guess because I don't go very often and I'm very selective about what I see, it really feels like a special treat. It really feels like an event. So I hope the theaters survive this, but I think it would be even cooler if a whole new generation now got introduced to the drive-in theaters and decided that they liked them and decided, hey, even when the pandemic's in the rearview mirror, hey, let's keep doing this. This is cool. That's what I'm hoping. Although Becky's has always done pretty well, I think, at least in the time I've been up here. So what else is going on? So I thought about going to Jim Thorpe today, because it is reopened, and I've been really jonesing to go up there again. You know, I love it. Couple problems with that. One, it's Memorial Day weekend, and that place is going to be packed, absolutely packed. And I am the kind of person, I'd rather avoid the crowd. I'd rather take a day off from work in the middle of the week and go up there when I can have the place to myself. Other two issues, there's some bad news, and this is probably going to be the last time I talk about this train until when, if ever, I can sit my butt on it and go for a ride again. The Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway, which had returned to business before the pandemic, is now gone again. We have no train in Jim Thorpe. Obviously, the rides were going to be suspended for the pandemic, but the issue is not the pandemic. The issue is the tax dispute has flared up again. They thought they had a resolution, and now they've decided they don't have a resolution, and as far as I know, the two sides aren't even talking anymore. So there's no train in Jim Thorpe anymore. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go there again. There's plenty else to do, but you know how I feel about that. Had we turned to the left at that road, that would have taken me to the Lehigh Gap Nature Center, which is where I took my walk. If you remember that walking video, I'm now driving over the cantilever. I know you couldn't see the depth of it from the video. Over to my left, there's those hiking trails that go up the ridge. There's the old foundation for the old rail bridge, which is no longer there. And then I was walking the trail along the river. You can see ahead, there's the house up on the Red Hill here. I love that house. I would give anything to be able to just sit up there and watch the view as the sun sets. No idea who owns it, but they sure got a good piece of land up there. It's a great location. It's a neat area, landmark. You always know where you are when you can see that house. The railroad tracks are just over to my left here. I haven't seen a train run in a while. You know, freight trains are still running, but they tend to run them more at nighttime, at least up here. So I'm now north of Blue Mountain. We've passed through Lehigh Gap. This is Carbon County. If I took the exit to the right here, that's the little town of Palmerton. I'm going to go one more exit up the road. I'm going to go to Bowmanstown. Under normal conditions, I'm going to bike from Lehigh Gap Nature Center to Bowmanstown and back. Actually, I'm going to do the reverse order. Normally, I would start in Lehigh Gap, and the reason being, when you're biking any distance, and for me right now, a distance is only 7 or 8 miles. I know that's not huge, but for me, that's a good ride. I'll be exhausted after it. Normally, I would start in Lehigh Gap and head north up to Bowmanstown first. The trail I'll be riding basically runs along the base of this mountain to my left. It's a flat trail. It's an easy ride, but it is a slight uphill. I mean, you don't realize it. It looks flat, but it's maybe a 1% or so climb the whole way, because what happens, this trail's following the river, and rivers flow downhill, and it's usually very gradual. I mean, unless you get to a waterfall or something, it's a very gradual, but you notice it when you're on the bike. You'll be pedaling north, and you'll be doing fine, and, you know, you'll get to your turnaround point, and you'll start heading south again, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're flying with the same amount of effort, and it's because now you're actually going down a slight grade, even though it looks flat. But when you ride these trails often enough, you know which way is up, which way is down. And when I ride, obviously, I want to do up first, because you start to get tired, and then, you know, when you turn around, it is a little easier to get back, so you got the easier pedaling when you're you know, when you're more tired. Only reason I'm doing it the opposite way today is there's a lot more parking up in Bowmanstown. There's a huge gravel parking lot. It's actually at the boat launch, so there's a shit ton of parking. Pardon my French. There's a lot of parking at Lehigh Gap too, but you saw last time when I went in, I almost didn't get a spot. People were making spots where there really normally aren't spots, so I feel more confident. In fact, I could see the boat launch across the river. You probably can't see it on the camera. There's more cars there than normal, but there's plenty of spaces. I'm not going to have any problem parking. Who knows what it'll be? I'll find out what it is down in Lehigh Gap when I get down there on the bicycle, but I'm just going to do the ride the opposite way. I'm going to have the easier pedaling going down, and it's just going to be a little bit more effort coming back, but I think I'm up for it. So what else do I want to fit in before then? I've actually got a list here. I'm such a freaking nerd that I got to make a list before I go driving and talking. Actually, it looks like I've mostly gotten through the list. I mentioned there's a little spur of the Appalachian Trail. It's actually just above the cantilever when you go through Lehigh Gap on the side of the road that I was driving coming in here. It's called Winter Trail. It's a flat little spur that winds around to the north side of the mountain before it goes up that side of the mountain. And I did do a little joyride the other night. I didn't make a video of it, but I did do a joyride up the little parking area to actually get a glimpse of the trail. And the flat part I could totally handle. I mean, I didn't know what it was going to be like. I'm thinking, what's it going to be? Big boulders or something I can't handle. But it looks like the D&L Trail. It's the packed gravel. I don't think you're allowed to bike it. I wouldn't try anyway. It's wide enough, I guess, to bike, but it's narrower. And the Appalachian Trail, that's a hiking trail. I don't think they let people bike it, but that's okay. Walking it's fine. I just have to limit myself to the flat part of it. I'm not going to do any going up and downhill, but looking at it on the map, I think I could do, a mile out and a mile back while it's still on the flat part. So my plan right now is to actually do that tomorrow. And that's going to be contingent on, I might wake up tomorrow and my legs might feel like they're going to fall off, and I might just sit down in the house and do who knows what. Or I might feel great. I mean, when you're not exercising regularly, sometimes it's hard to predict how you're going to feel, but the plan right now anyway is, it's not the, wow, this is crowded. Thought that was the turn off for the boat launch. It's not. Wonder if that's an organized ride or if there's just that many people out on the trail. I guess I'll find out. When you don't exercise regularly, I have times where I'll go take a 2.5 mile walk and I'll feel energized from it, and I have times that I take a mile walk and I feel exhausted. And it's hard to predict. I mean, the human body, I have to remind myself it's not a machine. I've only done a couple shorter walks this month. The one May 2nd up at Lehigh Gap, that was the big one for me. I think it was 2.5 miles. That was, for me, that's a long walk. The walks I've done locally recently, they've been about 1.5 miles, and I've been kind of like, yeah, it's enough. Which just shows you really all you got to do, you don't have to kill yourself to be in shape, but you do have to get out, in my opinion, at least 2-3 times a week. At least that's what works for me. I find if I get out 2-3 times a week, that seems to keep the momentum going, and I'm fine. So I'm here. This is, the sign says Riverview Park. I honestly didn't even know it had a name, but that's cool to know. Lots of parking if you don't mind getting out into the mud. Let's try this here. Yeah, it's, people are out. I mean, this isn't the Sunday I normally would have hoped to have. This would have been the day I would have gotten up at the crack of dawn, watched the Monaco Grand Prix. We probably, I think right about now, it's about 1 o'clock. I think that's the time they normally start the Indy 500. I'd be watching that. And, I have a hard time sitting on the couch watching TV all day, but sometimes I even have enough left in me after that to watch the Coca-Cola 600. Yeah, long story short, it's normally a day of racing. There is no racing this year. There was actually a virtual race at Indy. They showed on YouTube yesterday. Mario Andretti was in it. He lives not that far from me. He's up in Nazareth, Bushkill Township. So he was actually racing from his home in a little virtual simulator. It was his first shot at doing that. I was hoping he was going to do better. He was running near the back of the pack, but you got to remember, he's not a video game guy. But it was cool anyway. It was something. So I enjoyed that. And now I'm going to stop babbling here, and I'm going to go enjoy my ride on the D&L Trail. And I brought my GoPro. Hopefully, the plan is I'm going to get some good video. I want to make 2 videos of it. It's just going to be a biking set to music thing, I think. I'll have one video going from Bowmanstown to Lehigh Gap, and another video going from Lehigh Gap up to Bowmanstown. It's one of my favorite sections of trail. I have no idea how it's going to look on video, but I'm still kind of finding my way around this GoPro thing, so it's more of an experiment than a professional production. But hopefully I'll have that out there for you to enjoy soon. I'll try to edit this video when I get home today. And, you know, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're safe, I hope you're healthy, and, you know, despite all the restrictions in our world, I hope you still manage to have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I know I'm certainly going to enjoy mine. It is great to be off from work for a little bit, and great to just enjoy the fantastic weather we have. So, I hope you guys are all doing the same, and thank you as ever for watching.